What up, campers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? We're back on YouTube, out of YouTube jail, and it feels so good. Happy Thursday, December 19th to all of you. Thank you for watching Sportsbook Review. This is Betting with the Bag. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. The family is back together. And Merrick in the house. We got Reese. We got Lizo, Zombie Pie, ready to get to work. Vinny Cornell, Alex Ramirez, UVA, Hoops like NC State plus 7.5. Deer, Slayer, Ski, Joe, that's me. Alex Ramirez, there's Matt Randall. Matt Randall, we missed you over in Twitch. I'm so happy to see you back in action. Serious business. Canadian Capper 72 says day off, hot chocolate in the hand, slept in, watching Betting with the Bag. Doesn't get much better than this. Dan Kelly in the house. Brooklyn Funk Project, Bulls Cash, Blues Cash, 2-2 Wednesday. Blues, my Blues -1 pushed. My Warriors 10 pushed, but I betted at 9.5, so that lost. But it was still a very nice day overall, although not very good in college basketball. We'll have to make up for that on the Late Show when Maxwell Smart joins us. Matt Randall had South Florida money line last night. The parlay for 2,000. We came close to big scores last night. And some of us did have big scores. Some of the guys we follow on Twitter did have big scores. Rod Zawacki in there says, I'll take Montreal on their only trip to Calgary all year. It'll be like a home game with so many Habs fans. I wanted to take the Flames. I want to fade the Habs. I have not at this point. I have locked in one bet in NBA. We're going to start in NBA. We got to be quick. We got Bobano joining us in about 10 minutes. Rafa, because we started 5 minutes late, we're going to have to push everybody 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Mr. Stroy in the house. We got Cobra Sports 609, Nilo, Yellow, Jesus, NHL Parlay Bagger, Steve, Overlay Ride, Cape, Tyclin, Gate Passkey. Oh, Gate Passkey joining us. Says, hey, Jimmy, back from the mountains first day and my birthday. Oh, I have not been able to follow, but I miss it dearly. We'll try to get some cash on the break. Cheers, dude. Happy birthday to Gate Passkey. Should I cheers? No, let's cheers the coffee. Happy birthday to Gate Passkey, a beloved member of the Low Bag family. We miss you very much. Up in the mountains making cash. And we miss you, my friend. Happy birthday. Capping 24/7, ready to go. We got Reese, we got AM, we got Twist One, we got Omar J. Legend in the house, Landon Hayes, Kenneth Heath, 400. What a great group. Nate the Great, Heart in the Hand. Richard Lee says, paroled. Poker Addicted 79. I'll always look at Piker Addicted 79 with joy. That was a spelling mistake that turned into a glorious name for you, Piker. It's going to be hard not to call you Piker. Poker Addicted 79. DX Filer, Nasty, Nate, Silver, Malco. We're all back. Al Hard. Nilo, the Bookie Bandit. Dirk Diggler. Nilo says, snowing here, Jimmy. Yeah, not here. Not here. I don't miss that shit. But there's a lot that I miss. All right, let's get back into NBA. We're back into a double-digit ROI, and we're so close to double-digit units in NBA. I feel like we're seeing things clearly. Kenneth E. said, Jimmy, I told you Celtics yesterday. Yes, you did. I bet it. You know, a lot of us were on it. It felt like it might be almost too public. Okay, that's NCAA basketball. That's okay. It's all right. But let's get NBA up there so I feel good about myself and not angry about the NCAA basketball record. It's okay. You know, it's all good. All good. I'm not going to freak out, lose my shit. But I do want to see a double-digit ROI real badly, Rafa. Want to see a double-digit ROI real badly. And I'm not going to see it. Okay, all right, right in the old goat hole, right in the bottom mouth. But I'll tell you guys what I'm at and what I sent in to the graphics department. I am 47 and 36, up 9.19 units with an ROI of 11.07%, an average line of 1.96 or minus 104. There's Nick the Slick in the house. Nate the Great says, Matt, we need the taint, brother. I'm looking forward. We've been missing taint. We've had taint missing from our life. All right, let's start off with Jazz Hawks, and let's go to the best odds page on the planet, sportsbookreview.com, SBR odds page. Jazz, Hawks. Jazz opened up at -6. Now we have 6.5s on the board. This total opened at 224. There's a 224 at Pinnacle and a 225 at most other books. There's still a 224 actually at Heritage and Intertops as well. U-Wager just popped theirs up to 225. Utah without Conley Utah, that's 5-8 on the road. I know the Hawks just got embarrassed, but do you want to trust a 5-8 Utah Jazz road squad? Pace last 5, 18th in the association at 99.80. Pace last 5 for the Hawks in the last 4, 104.42. There is Ski Profit in the house. 1 for the money, 2 for the show. Joining us too. Great timing, Ski Profit, capping this NBA card. G-Sauce says, what up to me? I had an anxiety attack because of you. I couldn't take you without you for a week. Well, we're back in action, and it feels so good. It feels so good. And look at SXEP Winster going to Vegas today. Enjoy that. Okay, Jazz 30-point performances. Bogdanovich continues to roll. Donovan Mitchell also playing well. They're the first Jazz duo to score 30 in a game since 2008 when Deron Williams and Carlos Boozer did it. They were fortunate to get past Orlando. Little 19-5 run over the final 4:31. That's what they're coming off. 109-102 home win over the Magic on Tuesday. And they have a 3-game winning streak that's kind of fraudulent. Atlanta's lost 5 straight. They just lost by 23 to the Knicks at MSG. They allowed 143 points in that game. Trae Young put up 22 in the first half. They were still down by 22 in the first intermission. Matt Randall, sit on my face, 10th play of the day. That's very, very exciting. Kanaskat says, your enthusiasm always gives me a welcome boost. Much love to you, Kanaskat. Poker Addicted says, can't trust either of these sides to cover. Hate this game. I'd love to hear what Ski Profit's doing on this spot. I do not like this either. And we got a Jimmy exclusive from Noli Knows. We have a Jimmy exclusive from Noli Knows. This just in. AM, Florida AM, Washington State under 133. Going to copy and paste that. There we go. Noli Knows. Jimmy exclusive. Florida AM, Washington State under. All right, let's keep rolling along here. I'm hesitant to make a move on the Jazz on the road, and I'm hesitant to, and we're still waiting. 2 more games till Collins comes back. So 2 more games till Jason Collins comes back, whom they need desperately. Okay, let's keep rolling. And Chris Hernandez says Lakers, and Ski Prop says don't like that game either. Okay, Lakers, Bucks. 2 24-4 squads facing off with each other. Lakers 14-2 on the road. One of those losses was against the Clippers, so really 14-1 on the road. 13-2 at home with the Bucks. Both these teams that are leading their respective conferences are coming off losses. This is a tricky spot. Both are missing a key player. Lakers without Kuzma, Bucks without Bledsoe. Let's see what the market is telling us. And Ski Prop says in 2 games we can bet the Hawks. I feel that. Drew Daddy says, what's going on with my Chicago Blackhawks? They're bad. They're a bad hockey team, and I'm going to cash my under 89.5 points. But they are, 6-0-1 on the second half of back-to-backs, or 6-1-1. We'll go over that game shortly. We're going to have Bobano joining us for that. Ski Prophet says, if AD plays, Lakers win. And I expect AD to play in this game. He is likely to play due to that mild right ankle sprain that kept him out of the Pacers loss, 105-102 on Tuesday. Bucks said goodbye to their 18-game winning streak. Do they lose 2 straight? Giannis goes for 48 and 14, and it's not enough. Eric Bledsoe is very important. Very, very important. There's Alex Ramirez in the house. Oh, what do we do? Do we back the Lakers here? Is the question. Prince of the City joining us. Nice to see Prince of the City in the house as well. I have not made a move on Lakers Bucks, and I'm going to need more time. Though I'm doing it with the expectation that AD will be in the lineup. There's my guy Dave Burke in the house, back on YouTube, baby. Nilo saying Rondo will play but is banged up. Let's move on to a move I did make. I did take the Spurs. I did take the 2.5 that was on the board at BetOnline. Yes, it was a bad loss to the Rockets, 109-107. They've been in all these games. The Nets have been playing over their head for far too long, and I think it comes to an end this evening in San Antonio. I'm on the Spurs minus 2.5. Let's see if that is still available. It is not. Just minus 3s across the board right now, but you can get a minus 3, minus 105 at Heritage and at 5 dimes. Going back to this Lakers spot, Chris Hernandez is on the Lakers. Christopher Reese says team doesn't run the same without Bledsoe in the lineup. Landon Hayes says Bucks step up tonight. Chris Hernandez said, I did not like how the Bucks looked versus the Mavs. Poker Addicted says, value on Lakers. All you have to do is beat the Bucks at home. Another game I can't touch. Maybe a light wager if AD plays. I'll tail Ski. And Prince of the City says, I will be on the Nets too. Ski Prophet says, my number says Nets. DeRozan goes for 12 points last game. He needs to step up. DeJounte Murray needs to step up. Bryn Forbes needs to step up. Who are you most afraid of with the Nets? You're afraid of two players, Allen and Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie can be defended by DeWanta, and Allen can be defended by Aldridge. There's Lamont Williams in the house. Rye Cape took the Nets too. I'm going up against all of you, but I got Drew Daddy. Drew Daddy says, I took the Spurs -2.5. Now I'm nervous that you are on it. Drew Daddy, do you have a double-digit ROI in NBA? Because I do. I'm on the Spurs -2.5. I don't care if none of you come with me. Colby on the Nets. Deerslayer Ski says Spurs just playing so bad. Look, they were up by 25 points on the Rockets at Houston. Landon Hayes says, like the Spurs. Red Girl, we've missed you so much. Twist One says Aldridge is old and slow, but he's big. And Jared Allen can get bullied at times. We've seen Drummond bully him. Now we saw finally Jared Allen fight back. I'm on the Spurs. Take it for what it's worth. Let's move on to Rockets, Clippers. We're going to be joined by Bobano. 3 minutes. There's my guy, Rasheem Luna, in the house. DX Filer. Bookie Bandits is Predators Max Play. I'm with that. And Heart and Hands with me on the Spurs. Matt Randall, I love you, buddy. Okay, Rockets, Clippers. We have two very high-profile games out of these four tonight. It's going to be a fun night in the association. This total opened up at 233. It's now at 234, 234.5, 235, even 235.5. High-level mark is at Heritage right now. Clippers open up at 5. You can still get them at 5. Bovada and Pinnacle hanging 5.5s. And almost all the books just pumped it up. Almost all the books. Intertop's going up to 235. 5 dimes went up to 234.5. U-Wager just went up to 234.5. Reese says, what do you think about the Kings team total over 2.5? Reese, I want to be able to win a game in case like 2-1 or 2-0. But if I had a free play, sure, I would take it. But I almost like if that had to be in a 6, I'd be on the under in a heartbeat. I'd be on the under in a heartbeat. Poker Addicted says Brooklyn being on the road against against the spread team for a while now. Both teams are mediocre. You take the points there or pass. There's A. Hilly in the house. There's Ron Fig in the house. Raphael got the record fixed. Okay, look at that. Okay, well, I mean, I've been bragging about it, so why don't we put up. Now, look, I'm not even up double-digit units. I probably shouldn't be bragging that much, but I'm close. Sure, pop up the NBA record while I start talking about this Rockets, Clippers spot. Rockets paced last 5 17th in the NBA, 99.9 possessions a game. Clippers first in the association. There's Il Wise joining us. The team is back in action, man. Rockets won 3 of their last 4. Westbrook won after the win against the Spurs. Went for 31 and 10. Said, some bullshit after the game. How it was just clearly that his team wanted it more than the Spurs. Yeah, right, Westbrook. But the Spurs were panicky with the lead, and Pop's losing his mind over there. Harden 28, 8 and 7. McLemore goes for 17. Capella for 15 and 3 blocks. Cordero Lindsay now says, what about the Clippers under tonight? Well, I certainly want to, if you were going to take the under, I would wait. I would wait right now. This number is climbing. And climbing quickly. I think that does make some sense, but this is not the type of spot I want to go against the market. Poker Addicted 79 says, Rockets, the only one I can say you're getting value you can act on, even if this one involves going up against a championship team at home. Hate this NBA board tonight. Prince of the City says, then why would you take the Spurs? Prince, I believe the Spurs are going to win this basketball game. They're playing better basketball than their record shows. And did you see the Nets against the Pelicans? Did that give you confidence? I think the Spurs are going to take care of business. I think the Spurs are going to take care of business here. Jonah liking the Harden over 37.5 points. Alec Ramirez, Spidey, play of the days. Jets on the puck line. Jets on the puck line. I'm looking forward to talk about that. We're going to have Bobano joining us. Feel free to holler at him as soon as possible here. Okay, so Harden put up 37 on November 22nd in a 122-119 loss to the Clippers. He put up 47 in a 102-93 win over Los Angeles on November 13. Clippers looked very good on Tuesday. 120-99 win against the Suns. George went for 24. Kawhi went for 20. They're 14-1 at home. They have Lou Williams back. They have Patrick Beverley back. And Nilo saying San Antonio is home too. Man, I'm excited about this Spurs game with all you guys against me. I tell you what, I'm very excited. I'll be watching with my shirt off. I'll be sweating buckets and drinking heavily in the dark alone. That's what I'll be doing when I watch the Spurs put money in my pocket and get me to double-digit units. That's what will be happening. I'd love to hear what Dan Kelly is on. JaMychal Green still out of the lineup, but everybody else back. I'm getting a note from Prince of the City says that I am out of focus. I'm out of focus. I don't know if he says tell Rafa to clean up the video. We're getting orders. He's giving me the thumbs up. I don't know if you're messing with me now, Prince of the City. Jamal Stone says the Spurs are who we thought they are or were or whatever. That's all fine and good. But they can beat this Brooklyn Nets team. That's what I'm saying. That's my only look on the card. We have a late show finally, so we can have the afternoon to ruminate on it and then make a move. Let's bring in our guy, Bobano in the house. Ian Cameron coming to us live from Hamilton, Ontario on this Thursday morning. How you doing, Bobano, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, Christmas is on the way. It's the busy time of year. Bowl season's about to get here. We got NHL, NBA, college basketball. Fun times if you're a sports bettor.
It is very fun times, and I like this NHL card. I made what I expect to be very public plays, although I'm not on the Jets, which I assume will be a public play. I made some very public plays here. Let's just roll through the card from the early games down to the late games and break each and every one of them down. I do want to hear your bowl looks for this weekend. I want to hear your NCAA basketball looks as well. I want to hear that. So I don't want to spend our full amount of time, but we do have 37 minutes, so no need to rush. I'm coming off winning day in NHL. I was panicking yesterday, up 1.25 units at this point in the year. Rafa, can we pop up the NHL record? 2-0-1 yesterday. Hit with that under 5.5 in the Blues-Oilers games. Watching Koskinen in net and splitting up Nuge, McDavid, and Draisaitl is a recipe for unders whenever the Oilers play at this point. And then the Devils -1, and a lot of people on Twitter explaining to me how that was going to be the wrong move, and it's not. Oh, Lamont Williams, max bet in. Maryland solo over 72. And Billy Boxer riding with me on the Spurs tonight. Beautiful. I'm going to copy and paste this right under Noli Noses action. Maryland team total. You know, a lot of people were asking where your team totals were when we were over on Twitch. Lamont, so it's great to have you back. Let's start with this spot. Islanders, Bruins, two very good hockey teams playing poorly. Bruins open up at -179. There's been a 1 cent move towards a -180. This total under 5.5 has moved 14 cents. It's now -131. Pinnacle leading the way towards the under. I'm expecting Varlamov and Rask. Greiss just got lit up. The Islanders hadn't allowed more than 5 goals in a game this year before allowing 8 to the Predators. They still lead the league in goals against. Both teams strong. Penalty killing. Both teams strong. Power play. And the key here is that the Bruins have beaten these Islanders 7 straight times in 12 of their last 14. But the Bruins have lost 6 of 7. They just lost 4-3 to the Kings in overtime. And the Islanders are coming off that 8-3 loss. This is a tricky spot. Take it away, Bobano. Are you making a move in Islanders-Bruins?
Yeah, I'm going to take a shot with the Islanders here. I know they've had trouble matching up against the Boston Bruins, but when I get a team coached by Barry Trotz, who's done a great job everywhere he's been, and we know it's been doing it with defense first, coming off a game where you give up 8 goals and you're about as bad as you've been all season defensively, I would anticipate a much better, stronger effort from the New York Islanders tonight. And Boston's just not a team that I trust laying this kind of price. Bruce Cassidy, after the loss against LA, 4-3 the other night. You think he's upset. He's like, you know what? There's 82 of these. You're not going to get them right every night. Talking about 82 regular season games. I mean, talk about a nonchalant attitude from your head coach when your team is just 1-6 in their last 7 games. I mean, they're really going through some struggles, and the coach is like, oh, well, they might continue, but eventually we'll figure it out and we'll work our way out of it. That's not a bet-on quote from the head coach of this team, and he's done a good job. The Bruins, for the most part, have had a good season, but they're not playing their best hockey right now. Even Tuukka Rask the other night admits that that was one of his worst games of the season. He wasn't good enough in that. It's always a concern. Usually that guy does bounce back when he feels he had a subpar performance in his previous game. It certainly sounds like he felt that way about his game against LA, but you're going to give me this price with the Islanders, and all they've done off a loss this year is bounce back and win the next game. They lost to LA 4-1. They bounced back to beat Columbus 2-0. They lost to Montreal. They bounced back and beat Vegas 3-2. They lost to Dallas. They bounced back and crushed the Tampa Bay 5-1 after losing to Dallas. So this has been a bounce-back team all season after a bad game and a loss, this Islanders team. Getting a nice price. Yeah, I'm going to take a chance here on New York.
You're getting a great price. So there's no doubt about it. And, no one's ever going to say, do not take that big plus money line against a team that's lost 6 of 7. You're getting up to plus 165 at a few books. So I completely get it. I was not sure what to make of Cassidy's remarks either. And I totally hear what you're saying. Part of me kind of related it to Rogers saying relax. Part of me was like, he knows how good this hockey team is, and it was just like relax. But I understood there was no urgency. There was no urgency, and Trotzy's a great coach, and these guys can come back. But I've always questioned the skill of Greiss and Varlamov. I've always questioned it. And when I look at their numbers, I'm like, are these guys going to win a Jennings Award? Like, are they that good? And so watching them get lit up against the Predators, I think your move is a good move. If I had a free bet, I would certainly put it on the Islanders. But, I mean, these Bruins, they've only lost once in regulation all year at home.
And it's funny, there's a great trend going into this game from a total standpoint. And I know people, because I wanted to mention this, because there's people in the chat, I'm seeing it right now, mentioning the total in this game. When the New York Islanders are off a loss this season, what do you think? What's the first thing that comes to your mind as a handicapper when you think Islanders off a loss? They want to focus defensively, right? A lot of the times when they lose a game like they did against Nashville the other night, it's because they have a rare bad game defensively, and they try to fix it the next time out. The proof is in the totals record for the Islanders off a loss. They're 7-1 to the under this season off a loss. So they have been a heavy under team when they lost the previous game, and if you believe in that trend, that's in play here tonight against Boston.
Yeah, I completely get it. I feel like with the giant card like this, I don't need to add plays just to enjoy my night. But this certainly would be a possible one. I'm just going to put Bobano here. Okay, let's move on to Stars Lightning. Another game I'm very interested in. I have to think that Cooper's on the hot seat. I have to think that's why he benched Kucherov in the third period after that giveaway to Duclair. Didn't play Kucherov in overtime. I think Cooper's about to lose his job, and he knows it, and he's doing whatever he can to keep it. And I respect that. Dallas opening up as 148 dogs. They're now 139 dogs. So money coming in on the Stars because the Lightning can't really be trusted. This total opened up at 6. It's still there at Bookmaker and Bet Online. All the other books have brought it down to 5.5. Bishop, as you know Bobano, he was a Lightning stalwart for a while before he went over to Dallas. 227 career games. Curious to see if he steps up here tonight. Lightning coming off 4-3 overtime win at home over the Senators on Tuesday night. It was a very difficult win. They're just, not the team we remember. They're allowing 3.22 goals a game. They're almost allowing one goal more in each and every game than the Dallas Stars. Stars coming off Monday's 2-1 home loss to the Oilers. Seguin snaps his 11-game goal drought. Stars are 4-1-1 over their last 6, but I don't know what to do with this Stars team, and I don't know what to do with this Lightning team. I don't know what to do with either of these clubs. Are you making a move on this game?
Yeah, this is one of those days. I hope there's some underdogs barking tonight because I mentioned the Islanders already, and I'm going to be on Dallas here at plus 140. I don't see enough good in Tampa Bay's game or consistency from one game to the next. They could win one game and then just look so awful the next time out. We've seen that multiple times this year from the Tampa Bay Lightning. And let's be honest, they were fortunate as all get out to get past the Ottawa Senators, a banged up, beleaguered defense. We talked about it when I was on with you on Tuesday. That's a bad, short, thin Ottawa defense right now, and Tampa Bay still needed overtime to beat them the other night. There's a lot of issues. You mentioned it. Kucherov sat down by John Cooper, and he probably figures at this point, screw it. This team underachieved last year in the first round, got swept. They're not responding the right way this year. And I get the sense the message of John Cooper's being tuned out a little bit. As we've seen with so many coaches in the NHL over recent seasons, the message you can only listen to it and adhere to it for so long. Eventually you tune it out because it gets old and maybe you need to hear a new voice. Maybe we're almost at that point with Tampa Bay. I will say this, I don't know if he's going to get fired in the short term because Julien Brisebois is the GM of the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is Julien Brisebois' guy. Okay, Julien Brisebois hired John Cooper way back in 2010 when he was the AHL GM of the farm team for Tampa Bay, the Norfolk Admirals. He hired John Cooper as his head coach there. So actually, he was in the organization before even Stevie Yzerman came on board as the GM and then promoted Cooper from the AHL to the NHL club with the Lightning. So it's going to take a lot, I think, for Brisebois, because this is his guy. It's going to take a lot, I think, for Brisebois to actually pull the trigger on firing John Cooper. But, things are getting more and more urgent for Tampa Bay. You have not seen this team just put their foot down and go on a win streak. You look at Dallas, I think the last game against Edmonton, they didn't play terrible. They had chances, but Koskinen, you mentioned how good he was in net against St. Louis. He was very good against Dallas when the Stars lost to the Oilers earlier this week too, but they still generated, which is a good sign. Rick Bowness, the interim coach, doesn't sound like he's pushing the panic button. He said, I didn't think our game was horrible the other night against Edmonton, but this to me, Dallas has been better off losses lately. And this is a Tampa Bay team, let's be honest, they're one shot away from losing at home as a minus 400 favorite to the Ottawa Senators in their last game. Yeah, Dallas plus 140 to me. At this price, I couldn't pass that one up.
I like your card so far. The Islanders and Stars are good hockey teams, and you're getting big prices on them, and that makes sense to me. Let's move on to this Sabres-Flyers spot. We missed an opportunity because we didn't have, on Tuesday when we capped the card, we didn't have the information that they were honoring Oscar Lindblom before the game. We also didn't know that Konechny was coming back. And anybody with that information would have understood the Flyers were going to play good hockey after that disastrous road trip. We stayed off that game, but the Flyers look good, 4-1 win. Konechny is the straw that stirs the drink. It's not Giroux. It's not Couturier. It's not Voracek. It's Konechny. Carter Hart made 41 saves. Flyers are still banged up with no Loughton. That means penalty killing is bad. So we see an 83.3%. I shouldn't say bad, but it's not an 83.3% penalty killing unit without Scott Loughton in the lineup. And we know the Sabres penalty killing is terrible at 75.5%, but the Flyers power play has been bad all year, 17.9%. They're not going to be able to take advantage of it. Carter Hart, though, looks like he's heating up. And remember, this Flyers team has no Pitlick, no Patrick, no Raffle. The Sabres, we've been watching you cash and cash and cash on the Jack Eichel goal prop. You did it again on Tuesday. I imagine you're going to do it again here. The Sabres coming off that tough 5-3 loss Tuesday on the road against the Leafs. They were behind 3-0. I was on them in that game. They came back with a vengeance, but it was not enough. Are you going back to the Eichel goal prop, and how are you handling Sabres Flyers?
You know it. Yeah, there's no way I'm not betting that now. Another goal for him the other night. What is it now? 16 goals in 17 games during this point streak. Unbelievable. He has been fantastic. And we're now seeing how good Jack Eichel can be when he's healthy. He's gotten through this season so far without any injuries, and that's always been a bugaboo and a problem for him in years past, is being able to stay healthy and stay on the ice. And now that we're seeing him out there and healthy and playing and in the lineup on the ice night in, night out, you're seeing what the type of player Jack Eichel can be. He's been fantastic. He's been great in terms of seeing the ice well. He's getting his teammates involved. He's also finishing and finding the back of the net himself. I mean, his whole entire game, complete game, and even his two-way 90-foot game has gotten much better. He's been a defensive conscience as well for the Sabres during this run. Not one of their better games the other night against Toronto, which was kind of surprising, but Sabres have lately, off a loss been better. And I worry about this spot for Philly. You mentioned they're still banged up. They do have Konechny back, which is huge. And you're right, he's been their best forward this year. You wouldn't have necessarily expected that or thought that before the season. But right now he's been their best forward. But think about the emotion of the other night. Oscar Lindblom, their fallen teammate who's diagnosed with cancer, was in the building. His family was in the building. It was an emotional night. They had mentioned it in the arena, in the building before the game. And it really ramped up the effort from the Flyers. They really wanted to put a good showing together with that, little acknowledgement of Lindblom's cancer diagnosis prior to the game against Anaheim last night. It was an emotional cauldron, I guess you could say, there in Philly the other night. Can you match that now tonight against Buffalo? I've got my concerns here. And plus, I think Buffalo's in a good bounce-back situation. They played better hockey. They've got one of the hottest players in the NHL right now in Jack Eichel, and they're getting a nice price. So it's a dog-eat-dog world tonight for this guy when it comes to NHL betting. I'm on Buffalo here.
Yeah, I mean...
And the Eichel prop, of course. Plus 130. Now, there has been a 20-cent adjustment. We're not getting the plus 150 we've gotten pretty much every game the last couple of weeks, but plus 130 still a good price, good enough price to bet it.
Look, you got 4+ lines on your card. It's a good-looking card. I like it. And yes, some guys asking, new guys to the show, Robert asking about what we cap. We cap every sport. So what we do is we already started with NBA. We're going to go back to NBA when Teddy Covers joins us, but we already capped the first 4 games, the only 4 games on the card. Then Bobano and I are going to cap NHL. We're going to quickly get into bowls with Bobano and some NCAA basketball looks, but we hit everything. On the late show, it's all college basketball, although we do review our NHL and NBA plays. And the chat gives out soccer winners all day long. It's just not a sport that I cap, and Noli saying odds market for the soccer content. Yes, the taint play of the day, the sit on my face taint play of the day. Matt Randall's coming back with a vengeance here now that we're back on YouTube. Georgia State -3. Other plays, Portland -6.5, Coastal Carolina -3, William Mary -1, Marshall -11, Texas State +2, UTEP +12. I've copied and pasted, did all of those. Okay, here, let's get into my first action, and I don't care if it's a recency bias. Yes, it's a recency bias because this team is trying to save their season. And it's been a long time since anybody cared about hockey in Los Angeles. And I'm on the Kings at plus 130. The Jackets are 3-0-2 over their past 5 games. Who they beat? Yes, they beat the Capitals. They have the Capitals number. But look at these last 2 wins. 4-3 over the Senators. 5-3 over the Red Wings. They're beat up. Injuries all over the place. No Milano, no Josh Anderson, no Ryan Murray. So Sonny Milano and Josh Anderson give them toughness, especially Anderson. And this Kings team is a slow-moving, big hockey team that you want toughness. They've also just put Bemstrom on injured reserve with an upper body injury. Johnny Quick getting hot right now. This is the 5th game of a 6-game road trip, so it's not like they're sitting there going, oh, we get to go home after this game. So maybe in game 6 we fade them. I don't care. I took the Kings at plus 130. Right now, if you want the LA Kings, let's go to there's still been a slight move towards the Jackets. I don't care about a recency bias at all. Yes, this is a recency bias. Recently, they're playing very good hockey, and I think they continue it in Columbus. They're finally feeling good about themselves. I'm on the Kings here. I would, if there was a 6, I would take the under. I don't know if I want to squeeze under 5.5, even though I did squeeze under a 5.5 last night. Are you making a move in Kings Jackets?
Yeah, not only the Kings starting to win, but where did this offense come from? They've scored 4 goals in each of their last 3 games, the LA Kings. So, yeah, I mean, and I just absolutely ripped this team earlier, just even a couple weeks ago, for how bad they were on the road. And just awful numbers. And still for the season, their road record is absolutely god-awful, 5-14. But they're starting to play better hockey away from Staples Center. When you look at their recent results, they beat Anaheim on the road. They lost in a shootout to Pittsburgh on the road. No shame in that. Beat Detroit on the road. And then, of course, the big one of all, a huge win in overtime against Boston the other night, 4-3. So, I wouldn't argue with taking LA. I'm personally not on them tonight. But I see the case for taking them. I would only look at them at the plus price. The one issue for me is Columbus. You could say maybe they're trying to save their season too, because they've had a nice week. They shut out Washington. Korpisalo was great in that game, in a really tough spot too. back-to-back against a team that may not excite you in the Detroit Red Wings with how bad they've been. And Columbus still took care of business. They dominated the game. They earned the win. They deserved the win. They outshot Detroit 39-21. They deserved that win. They got it 5-3 in a bit of a tricky spot off the big win against Washington. And that's a sign of maturity from this Columbus team. And even with the injuries, I got to give them credit that they've been able to persevere through those and win back-to-back games like they did earlier this week. It's impressive. And it's impressive enough for me that while I lean LA, I'm probably not going to pull the trigger. But I understand, Jimmy, the case you're making for the Kings here.
Well, the same thing is in the next game. The exact same thing. Yes, I just saw them put up 8 goals against the Islanders. Everybody knows the only Western Conference team I had futures on before the Taylor Hall trade was the Predators. They're trying to save their season as well. And do I think that Senators are going to get in the way of this? Both the Kings and Predators have seen market moves to the home dogs, or sorry, a home favorite with Columbus, but to the home team. I'm on the Predators -1 at +111. I got a money line at -145, a puck line at -1.5. I was sitting there this morning going, are you simplifying this too much? Is this a recency bias? Are you going to be with the public here? And I've always maintained the idea that in NHL, when things look too good to be true, it's because they're easy winners. In basketball, when things look too good to be true, the association's going to get you. But not in NHL. We get winners when this looks simple. These two plays look simple. Rod Zawacki on Columbus getting the win today. Look, I like the Preds here. They followed 5-2 victory over the Rangers with 7 unanswered goals against the Islanders, 8-3 win. Ryan Johansson gets a goal and assist. Yossi continues to play well. Senators have lost 9 of 12. Thomas Chabot played 37 minutes and 50 seconds against the Lightning. You want to know a team that forechecks like crazy, like the Predators aren't going to have 2 hands slashing Chabot's ankles? I don't care if this is too easy or too public or recency bias. I'm on the Predators -1 here. Bobano, are you making a move in Predators-Senators?
Yeah, the first thing I got to point out, we got to talk about the point you made about how things look too easy sometimes. And you're right. I'm the handicapper where I'm a recency bias handicapper. When a team's on a good run and playing well, I ride the streak. I don't go against the streak. So if that means I buy into recency bias, I guess I do. And in terms of, things look too easy, I don't believe in things looking too easy. I don't believe in fishy lines. I don't believe in trap lines. It's actually one of the first things I learned, years and years ago from the man that's going to follow me on this show, Teddy Covers, one of the guys that got me into the business here and got me involved in betting is, do your own handicap of each individual game. All right? Do the work that you'd always do. Don't worry about what other people bet. Don't worry about where the line's going. Don't worry about any of that nonsense. Don't worry about whether someone thinks, oh, you're buying into recency bias here. Who cares? If that's the way you handicap and you approach the game, because everybody's got their own style, everybody's got their own philosophy, you go with it and you go with what works for you. And if you see that Nashville, you're seeing them play better hockey these last couple of games, and they certainly have, and maybe a sign that they're going to get on a run and you want to ride with it, I got no problem with that. I certainly don't want Ottawa in this hockey game. There's no question about that. This team is banged up on defense. I've talked about it multiple times. This blue line, and again, when we talk about teams with defensive injuries, it hurts the teams that don't have the adequate level of depth on that blue line to replace the guys that are injured. Ottawa doesn't have those guys, flat out. All right, they just don't have those guys. They're down to Chabot, and Hainsey's playing 30 minutes lately too, an old man that's in his late 30s. That's not good for him. You got Borowiecki, more minutes for him, and that exposes him a little bit because he's physical. He stands up for his teammates, big body, but you can beat him with speed, and he can wear down if he has to play a lot. Brandstrom, Englund, Golubev, all these guys that are in the depth defenseman positions for Ottawa lately, they're not equipped to handle it right now. And you're seeing the results. They give up 4 goals, tons of shots to Tampa. They give up 6 goals to Florida without Nikita Zaitsev, without Dylan DeMello. Those names aren't going to excite the betting markets with Nikita Zaitsev, Dylan DeMello, but they're good, stay-at-home, sturdy defensemen in their own zone for this Ottawa team, and they've missed them badly because they don't have the players waiting in the wings to replace those guys, and you're seeing it. They're struggling mightily defensively. I've been riding this Ottawa team over the total, back-to-back games. It's cashed. That's where I'm going in this game. I certainly wouldn't talk you out of Nashville. I would lean that way as well. But for me, I'm going to grab the 1-6 that is currently out there still in terms of the total at Bookmaker Chris. There's a over 6 minus 125 there right now. And again, SBRodds.com, make sure you're using that. And you can find that out. That if you like the over like I do, you can find that 6 at Bookmaker Chris. So that's where I'm going, over the total of 6 here, Nashville and Ottawa.
I like it. And let's speed up this because we want to get through NHL and talk about a couple other sports before Teddy Covers joins us from Las Vegas. Blackhawks, Jets. I simply don't trust this Jets team. Yes, they're 20-12-2, and I've left a lot of money on the table, and I'm not going to have a good read on every NHL team. And Morrissey's been spectacular, and Paul Maurice has pressed all the right buttons, and Blake Wheeler is a consummate captain, and I could continue. Hellebuck's been a Vezina-type performance all year long. Blackhawks are on the second half of a back-to-back. They have this 6-1-0 record on the second half of a back-to-back. And Canadian Capper dropped us some information on why he thinks that's smoke and mirrors. Says October 27th, back-to-back win versus LA, who are also on a back-to-back. November 3rd, Anaheim in overtime. November 10th, Toronto with injuries, also on a back-to-back. November 17th, Buffalo was also on a back-to-back. December 6th, New Jersey, and December 15th, Minnesota. Both teams were also on back-to-back. So that's great stuff, and thank you for sharing that with us. So there's smoke and mirrors to that Blackhawks thing. I like fading teams their first game when they have their star defenseman back. If we can even call Duncan Keith a star defenseman, I don't know if we can even call him that anymore. The Blackhawks team is bad, but I don't trust the Jets team. I don't want them as favorites ever. They had their 5-game home winning streak snapped by the Hurricanes. They've lost Andrew Kopp, one of their best penalty killers. This is a team that has a 73.5% penalty killing rate. And if Keith is back, we've always been expecting this Blackhawks power play to be better than it is. They lose Matthew Perreault as well. So now they have no bottom 6 forwards. Look, I don't like the Blackhawks, but that doesn't mean I'm going to take the Jets here. And I don't believe in this club. So Winnipeg opened up at minus 188 and a huge move towards Chicago. We've seen a 32-cent move towards Chicago and this total at 6.5. You making a move here?
Yeah, over the total for me. There's another team I've been riding overs with. Last night, I didn't feel as great about it, because I know Colorado, when they get a lead, they can shut it down, and that's exactly what they did last night. They got that 3-1 lead, and then that was it. Chicago really didn't mount much of an attack, but Winnipeg, we've talked about their defense and how Paul Maurice has gotten this young group with all the losses to play tight defensive hockey. But you're right, the injuries, and that's one of the great things about hockey is an injury like Andrew Kopp. Nobody's going to pay attention to it. Nobody's going to notice it. Nobody's going to flinch or bat an eye when a guy like that gets injured. But we notice, we realize the kind of impact he makes to this Jets team, especially defensively, away from the puck, the penalty kill, as you mentioned. And the penalty kill is horrendous right now for the Winnipeg Jets. There's nothing else you can say. I mean, Carolina lit them up like the proverbial 6 days away from Christmas tree the other night against Carolina. Carolina had all the success on the power play that night. And that's just multiple games now where Winnipeg's penalty kill has struggled. So can Chicago find the back of the net with their power play? They have a chance to. I think so coming into this game tonight. Now, obviously, we know I know DeBrincat got banged up a little bit last night, but from what I've seen, he's going to be good to go tonight and be in the lineup. And we'll see if Chicago can take advantage of that. We know Winnipeg's always good to score at home. The Chicago defense, they do have Duncan Keith back. That does help, but Duncan Keith's not their best shutdown defenseman anymore. That's Calvin DeHaan. That's the guy they really miss from a defensive shutdown, lockdown, shot blocking, penalty killing perspective. He's the best they've got. And with him out, this has been a hideous defense. They've been giving up goals in bunches. I think Winnipeg scores some goals tonight. I think Chicago can as well against a depleted Winnipeg group defensively and the penalty kill struggling. So over the total for me, and it's been an over the total series. I believe 5 of the last 6 head-to-head meetings, Chicago-Winnipeg, have cashed overs.
I love that look. Let's move on to Hurricanes Avalanche. Colorado on the second half of a back-to-back. They beat the Blackhawks last night 4-1. They've gone 9-1-1 in their last 11 games. Talk about me leaving money on the table with Winnipeg. I've been leaving money on the table with the Avs out without Cale Makar and Eric Johnson. A team without 2 of their top 4 defensemen. Looks like Johnson will be back tonight. It's a possibility he'll be back. Carolina is a very good hockey team. And I do not want to get in the way of the Avalanche, and I do not want to back the Avalanche without Makar and Johnson. So this is a stay-away spot here. I know that, this could be our very ugly Stanley Cup final. Because Colorado opening up at minus 123. There's been a big move towards Carolina. Now you're getting a minus 107. This total's at 6. Are you making a move here?
This is a tricky game. Carolina's played great on this road trip, but this is the final game of that road trip. I'm not convinced they bring their A game. Colorado, I like them as the better of these two teams, but they're in a dubious spot. They're back home, second night of back-to-back after playing in Chicago last night, and now they're in the elevation of Denver, but they're used to it, so I don't think it's a huge deal. I would lean I put it this way. When it comes to Colorado, Jimmy, I either bet on them or I don't bet the game. That's how much I think of this team. Even when Colorado's at an obvious bet against spot. Remember that game against Calgary? They lost that game off the long road trip. Even in that game, I didn't bet against Colorado. I think that much of this team, they're that good. The four lines have been great. McKinnon and that top line, now that they're back together, is on fire. Rantanen, Landeskog, all of them. The defense, even without Makar and Johnson, you're getting Ryan Graves, you're getting Girard, guys like that stepping up. The goaltending from Grubauer and Pavel Francouz, regardless of who's been in net, they've been consistent. They've been good every single night. So it's probably a little bit of a situational edge for Carolina, although, again, with this being the last game of the road trip for them, I'm not sure this is the best spot for them. Maybe goals, because, sloppiness can sometimes creep into a team's game. Last game of a long road trip, you've been on the road, you've been traveling a lot. Sometimes that leads you to make mistakes with the puck, so maybe that gets this game over the top.
Yeah, I hear it. I get it. I do not like backing teams on the last game of a road trip either. Jin Rummy got a nice number, man, on the Hurricanes, no doubt about it. Let's move to Canadiens Flames. I have some interest in Calgary. They open up at minus 127. They're now minus 136. This total is it opened at 5.5. It's moved to 6 at Pinnacle, which is interesting with the way Carey Price has been playing. 4-1-0, 952 save percentage his past 5 starts. Tatar playing well. Shea Weber playing well. The Flames have scored 1 goal in their last 2 games. I think I'll end up staying off of this. And let's be quick here because I want to talk a little bit about some other things. But are you making a move on Canadiens Flames?
I'd rather be betting on these teams than betting against them. Montreal came into this road trip out west against these 3 Western Canadian teams, talking about we want to string some wins together. It's time we make our push. And they played really well the other night against Vancouver. They really did. I mean, defensively, they continue to play. Even in the loss against Detroit, they played well defensively. They've gotten their defensive game back in order. Carey Price has gotten his game back in order. And now Calgary, everything was hunky-dory early on in the Jeff Ward era. Well, now you're off back-to-back losses against Carolina and Pittsburgh. Maybe the gleam is starting to wear off the coaching change just a bit. So I'm not in love with laying the price with Calgary. But probably not going to get there with Montreal, so I'm staying off that game.
So am I. Okay, cool, because we're speeding this up here. Look, I jumped on the Coyotes to win the division at plus 310. The only team that can possibly win the Pacific, other than the Coyotes, is the Knights. I'll figure out if I want to hedge that at some point, but I have no faith in the Oilers whatsoever. I think that the Coyotes get hot here. I'm on the -1 at plus 111. I know this is going to be a very public look, but we already saw what Taylor Hall did in 1 game, and now we're talking about a Wild team with no Koivu, no Zucker, and no Eriksson Ek. Give me the Coyotes. Let's get some excitement in the desert. Let's get fans coming out to the games in Phoenix. I'm on the Coyotes -1 at plus 111. I got money line -149, a puck line at plus 177 at Heritage.
What did I say to you when I was with you Tuesday before the Arizona-San Jose game? With Taylor Hall there now, what am I looking to do with Arizona? Bet on them and bet over the total. Okay, the over didn't quite get there against San Jose the other night, but that's the mindset I'm taking here again tonight. Give me Arizona, obviously the money line. I've got it half and half. I've got half of it on the regulation line, which is around -110, -115. Half of it on the puck line here, minus the goal and a half at a nice plus price. And I'm also going to go over 5.5 plus 110 because Minnesota, okay, they didn't give up as many goals against Vegas, but they still gave up shots. They still gave up chances. They still missed Koivu from a defensive perspective. So that's where I'm going. Arizona, I've got a split bet between them in regulation and the puck line, and also over 5.5 here, plus 110.
I'm interested in your over. I, too, lost on that over on Tuesday. I had a bad day on Tuesday. I went 0-3, was very upset when I got in here Wednesday, and got almost. I got what did I get? 2.58 units back last night. Perfect. I may make a move on your over too. And then Knights Canucks. Unbelievable. I mean, the Canucks have not beaten this team in regulation since they came into the league. And you know what I said about the Canucks over and over and over again. It's a good thing that they started out winning games because they're not a good hockey team. We're going to get value fading them. The only issue is that the Knights just beat them up in Vegas. Do they also, again, Minnesota leaving Vegas? We know what happens historically for teams leaving Vegas is that they lose. Markstrom, Fleury, Pacioretty, first star of the week. We also know what happens to Pacioretty. He breaks down at some point during the year. I expect him to do that too. Knights have won 3 in a row. They're 8-2-1 over their last 11. They're still missing Eakin. They're still missing Cody Glass. The Canucks are now 11th in the Western Conference, and they're just a bad hockey team. But I haven't made a move here. I don't like having road favorites in my pocket unless it's a Nashville-Ottawa type situation. But Vegas opening up at -130. They're now -133. You making a move here?
Yeah, I would actually, if anything, lean under because Vegas has actually cleaned it up defensively. Fleury back. He's played pretty good. He was really good the other night against Minnesota in that win against the Wild. And Vancouver's not scoring. Vancouver has gone as their offense has gone and their power play has gone. Their offense isn't clicking. Their power play is not clicking, and now they're losing because of it. And that's the way their season's gone right now. From a side perspective, it's a Vancouver spot, no question. They got bombed by Vegas on the weekend at T-Mobile. They're going to want to avenge that. It is a steep price to back Vegas, so it's not a game I'm involved with from a side perspective. It is a Vancouver spot. I guess I'd lean slightly to the Canucks, but their form's just been so weak lately that I'm not pulling the trigger there. If anything, I would lean a little under 6, -105. That's
an interesting look, especially after they put up 9 goals in their last spot. When Benning signed Furland, I would have open hand slapped him in the face. It's just that you can't get a concussion, a guy who's broken, a guy who is, off the bottle for 2 years, but a guy who's physically broken to protect Pedersen and Besser. It's just such a... God, it just makes me so angry. All right, let's review our action. I might jump on your over 5.5 in the Phoenix game. I'm not sure. I may do it. But I'm on the Kings at +130. The Predators -1 at +111. And then I'm on the Coyotes -1 at +111 as well. What is your action?
All right, so hopefully the dogs are barking today. Like I said, Dallas +140 against Tampa. Buffalo +122 against Philadelphia. New York Islanders +169 against Boston. Nashville, Ottawa over 6 -125. Chicago, Winnipeg over 6.5 -105. Arizona split bet in regulation -115, and the puck line, which is about -1.5 right now, at +165, and the over 5.5 +110 in that Minnesota-Arizona game as well. That's what I got.
If I had to give out one bet, Mitch asking for our favorite bet, I would probably parlay the Predators money line and the Coyotes money line as one bet alone. If you had to give out one bet, what would it be, Bobano?
Yeah, I won the other night. It was Arizona. The late goal got it there. That was my favorite play on the NHL card Tuesday when I was with you. Today, Nashville, Ottawa over 6 -125. Like, Ottawa's just giving up goals in bunches. The defense is depleted. They don't have adequate replacements. Nashville, they scored 8 against the Islanders. Can they get 5 or 6 against Ottawa? I think they should.
Yeah, Coyotes, Predators parlay for me, and the over 6 in Predators, Ottawa for Bobano. Anthony Devontae says Nashville. I guess I would, by the slightest bit, take Nashville over Arizona on the -1 line, but by the tiniest. But it's time to fade Ottawa. Come on, they're playing Shabbat 37 minutes and 50 seconds. Fucking Shabbat the bed, man. Okay, Bobano, we've got to move on, but we want to hear your looks. We're not going to have time for you to break down your looks, but I'd like to take the notes. So do you want to start? Do you have NCAA basketball looks, or do you want to talk Bulls?
We'll get to Bulls in a second. I won't mention why I'm on the basketball college, but I'll throw them out there. 2 totals. We're on Bill and his bitch, as I like to call it, William and Mary, St. Joseph's, over 152, 152.5, like that. And then also over the total in Eastern Kentucky and Marshall. That's gone up a bit to 160. I got 159, but I think it's still playable at 160. Considered UTEP plus 12.5 because I've been mining for units with the UTEP team the last several games, and it's worked. But this is a very tricky spot. This is the 3rd game in 4 days. They won the holiday tournament on their home court. and it's a lot of points. I would love to back them, but I don't trust the spot. And Houston's off a loss, and man, they've been very, very good off a loss over the years, and it's still a pretty good Houston team. So I stayed off UTEP in that game. So just those two totals, the William and Mary St. Joe's over, the Eastern Kentucky Marshall over for me in college hoops.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. That will give us a lot of fodder on the late show as well. William and Mary over 152.5 and Marshall over 160. Sorry, you got it at 159.5?
I did get it at 159 actually, but 160, 159.5 are the numbers that are out there right now, widely available. But I still think it's worth it at that number.
Beautiful, William and Mary. Robert Santusosa is on William and Mary -2 tonight, and so is Matt Randall. Got it at -1, so you're in good company there, Robert. Okay, and then quickly, what is your bowl action up until Monday? Because then we'll get you next week to give us more bowl action. So what's your bowl action for this weekend up until the Marshall game on Monday?
Okay, up until the Marshall game, Kent State plus the points against Utah State. Flat out fade of Utah State. I know they're going to have Jordan Love, and the people that were worried were going to get suspended for the weed incident, they're all going to play. But Kent State's in this amazing bowl track record of teams that won 3 games or less it was last year and are in a bowl game this year. Those teams have been amazing. And Kent State's in that profile. That, to me, is a big deal. They came on strong. You talk about teams that want to be in a bowl game. Kent State, I think, wants to be in a bowl game. You know, they got hot down the stretch. They had to win out to get into a bowl game. They did that. Their offense was better down the stretch with Crum at quarterback. Didn't play like a Crum. He played pretty well, actually. But I think Kent State against Utah State, worth a look there. Liberty, Georgia Southern should be a shootout. I like points in that game over 58. I think Florida International, Arkansas State is going to be a shootout as well. I think the FIU offense came on down the stretch, and Arkansas State's got a really good offense with that freshman quarterback they've got. That should have some points in it. So I like the overs in those 2 games. That's the biggest plays I have on the Saturday card. The one I really like on Monday is Marshall, plus 17.5. Every year, Jimmy, it's just don't even think about it. Just do it. Bet Doc Holliday in a bowl game. 6-0 straight up, 6-0 against the spread, last 6 bowl games here at Marshall. Doc Holliday's just been a money-making machine here in these bowl games. Central Florida, think about this. Think about it. They played LSU and they played, I believe, Auburn. Back-to-back years, the last 2 years in the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl. Now you're playing the Gasparilla Bowl, barely a few miles from campus. You think that's going to excite the UCF players after years of playing LSU and Auburn, these big heavyweights on New Year's Day in big-time bowl games like the Peach and the Fiesta Bowl? I'm worried about the motivation and excitement for UCF, and Marshall has a good enough team to hang around in that game. I really like Marshall, one of my stronger opinions on this bowl slate.
I love it. Teddy Covers already given out Marshall. Big Boss and DJ Big Boss and Big Ragu have Marshall as their 2-unit play, and there's still 17.5s on the board, but you got to act quick. If you got Teddy, Bobano, Ragu, and Boss all on Marshall, how do you not get on Marshall as well? Mississippi Kid joining us, Luis Fernando Esquinca.
It's kind of scary, Jimmy. Everybody, everybody I've talked to likes Marshall, but it seems like it's the obvious spot. I mean, you got UCF after 2 bowl games that are much more glamorous the last 2 seasons than this one, and a Marshall team that all they've done under Doc Holliday is win straight up, win against the spread in their bowl game. He has been a machine. And then Rod Carey's the antithesis of that. I talked about that earlier with Temple. Rod Carey's 0-6 straight up in ATS and bowl games. So you got to be aware of these coaches' track records, and Doc Holliday's track record in bowl games is as good or better than anybody else out there.
I love it. I love it. So we have Kent State plus the points, Liberty over. Liberty over is another play that Teddy Covers is giving out on the show. FIU over, Marshall plus 17.5. And in NCAA basketball, Marshall over 159 and William Mary over 152.5. We got to make moves. Bobano, great job breaking down that NHL card. What a treat it is to rock with you on these giant NHL cards on Thursday. Follow this man on Twitter at Bobano. And much love to you, my friend. Have a big profitable night.
All right, Jimmy, you too, and to everyone watching, make some money tonight. Good luck to all of you with your wagers. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.
Much love. There he is. We go from Bobano to Teddy Covers coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy, my man, how are you on this Thursday morning? We're back in YouTube. We have a huge chat. We have questions ready to go. We're pumped up here. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Hey, my pleasure. I'm fired up too, Jimmy, although I don't know if you've noticed. I've noticed. You notice what happened to the last 4 NBA plays that I gave out on the show? They all lost by either a point or a half a point, including yesterday. with the end of that Warriors-Blazers game that just made me absolutely insane. So I'm a little frustrated in the NBA right now. I can't say I'm not. When you lose 4 straight by a point or less, all in the last seconds or blowing, other than that, I'm fine. How about you?
I had a nice night on the show, but it got a little bit worse because I did bet it at 9.5. For show purposes, I took the 10 at Bovada for that Warriors game. I would have been, and I thought the Warriors were going to take care of business. I would have gone 4-1 in NBA. Instead, in the show, I went 3-1-1. But with my action, I went 3-2. Had a nice night in NHL that I really needed and made me feel very good. I'm back to a double-digit ROI in NBA, and I'm up a little over 9 units, and I feel like we're seeing things clearly, and the leans that you're giving out are cashing. So I have no concerns about what we're doing here on the hardwood. So I'm ready to go right back at it. I have locked in a play, and it took quite a bit of abuse from the chat. A lot of people on the other side of me, which just makes me so excited about the game, but a little nervous. I've made one move on this card. Have you made any moves on this National Basketball Association card?
I didn't, and I didn't really come close. When you lose, and again, last night, if you watch, did you watch the last minute of that game? At no point in the second half did the Warriors have were down by 10 to the Blazers until D'Angelo Russell hits the 3 that if he doesn't hit, they're not going to foul and the game's going to end 9. And then he hits the 3 and they foul and then the game doesn't end 9. So I was frustrated, and I had a moment last night. After that, you talk about the losses hurt worse than the wins are good, and that one was just like a slap. That one, I felt that one. I was expecting to catch that the whole game, and didn't. So I was a little frustrated. The only thing I really even thought about in the NBA, and I thought about taking the Lakers plus. I did, but that's the only thing that I even seriously considered. Slight lean towards Utah, I guess. Let's go through the games. I mean, I'm happy to do that. You got to tell me what your big move is.
I'm on the Spurs, and it took a lot of flack. Look, I watched the Nets play, and they've been very good without Kyrie, 11-5. And who are they doing it with? They're doing it with Jared Allen and Dinwiddie. DeJounte Murray is an excellent defender. Long arms. I think he can slow down Dinwiddie. And they're in some comments in the chat that Aldridge is too old and too slow to defend Jared Allen. There is truth to that. And I'm not saying that he's not. But we see Jared Allen get bullied by bigger, older basketball players. And that's starting to stop. He's improving. That's starting to stop. Drummond used to bully him like he was a little kid. And then he finally turned the tables on Drummond after 8 or 9 times of being bullied by him. I just feel like Aldridge and Murray can slow down those two guys. And if you take those two guys out of the equation, then I think that the Spurs have a better team than the Nets right now with the injuries that the Nets have. So I'm on the Spurs -2.5. And I thought the Spurs looked good against the Rockets, until they fell apart late. And Pop was all over them. And I didn't love the comments coming out of the locker room. But what do you think of my look on the Spurs here?
It's the only way I would play the game. If I'm playing that game, I would be laying with San Antonio as opposed to taking with Brooklyn. And, the Nets, that win over New Orleans was as ugly a game as you'll ever see. And the Nets really didn't bring it on the eye. They had a rough shooting night, you watch that second quarter, it might have taken years off your life. Ugly offensively. They did play defense, and that's something that we haven't seen out of Brooklyn of late, and that does concern me here against San Antonio. And the Spurs, again, they're not a team I'm looking to lay points with, but from a spot standpoint, I'm with you 100%. It is a Spurs spot. From a matchup standpoint, I wouldn't argue that San Antonio should match up well with Brooklyn. From a value standpoint, look, the Spurs have been such a bad point spread team the first 2 months of the campaign. This is a pretty cheap price to back San Antonio. I didn't get there, but I certainly wouldn't talk you out of it.
That makes me feel much better than the chat did. I'll tell you that much. Made me feel much better than the chat did. Look, there's 2 marquee games. You already talked about having interest in the Lakers. Can you expand on that? Because this is a big, big time basketball game.
Sure, and let me make it clear. I'm not going to bet the NBA tonight. When I get, when it's the last four plays that I have in my client, all the leans are great. And then the ones that I'm pulling the trigger on, literally half-point loss, gut punch, punt, oh, yeah, let's have a 19-5 run to close out the game. I mean, all this stupid stuff. And when you have that and you're frustrated with it, especially on a short card like today and nothing jumped to me, I'm like, boom, I'm leaving it alone. I will not bet. I'm not going to do anything with the NBA tonight. But when it comes to Lakers and Bucks, aren't the Lakers better than the Bucks when all's said and done? I mean, and the Lakers off a loss, and the Lakers in a road trip where they haven't played particularly well. Milwaukee is a great regular season team. And in all the games where teams are coming and they're not necessarily going to be at max intensity, the Bucks win all those games. And they cover a very high percentage of those games. But when it comes to that's why the Bucks are such a great regular season team. When it comes to these playoff type matchups, we saw it last year. When the Bucks aren't running teams out of the gym, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And nobody's running the Lakers out of the gym right now. And the Lakers coming off a loss. And I know that we don't know if Davis is going to play tonight. I still think that LA is very capable of hanging around in this game. And if you talk about, hey, catching points with the Lakers, I'm interested. And that's just the lean. I mean, again, from an a priori standpoint, I want Milwaukee against the teams that they're going through the motions. I don't necessarily want to pay the price that you have to pay Milwaukee because they beat all the teams that are going through the motions when they have to step up in class and play at a team that's really going to show. And my hunch is Lakers are going to show tonight. Lakers are pass. Does that make sense?
It's a very exciting game. Luis Fernando Esquinza, OG low bagger, said this was earlier in the show, and I copied and pasted it. Said, Jimmy, bro, the Lakers are about to get blown out. Today will be their worst loss of the season, which I find so interesting that I had to copy and paste it, and we will talk about it when things break down tomorrow. And we want to talk about a ton of different things with you, Teddy, but Rockets Clippers is another marquee matchup here. Sanka, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Nick Arcuri in the house, liking Bucks early. Lakers cover full game. Sorry, I'm on college football. Let's move back to NBA on the best odds page on the planet, sportsbookreview.com odds page. I stayed off of this game, and you know what? In fact, let me just ask you one last thing. Some interesting stuff coming in with the chat about the total here in the Lakers game, sitting at 225, but Heritage has brought it up a point to 226. Everyone else sitting at 225. If you had a free play on the total, would you try to get under this in a high?
No.
No, you'd go over?
I would not plan under in this game. And I understand the defensive capabilities of these two teams, and it may end up being a brick fest, but I think the pace is going to be fast, and I think both teams are going to get ample opportunity to score at the free throw line. This isn't going to be a game where both squads are settling for jump shots. They're going to take it to the hole. And total-wise, I mean, we got to find out if Davis is going to play tonight. Let's start for that. If Davis doesn't play, there's no way I play this under, for what it's worth.
Okay, I hear that. And Bojay, I will ask Teddy that question, but let's get his look on Rockets Clippers, marquee matchup here. Clippers open up at -5. There are a couple 5.5s on the board. This total has gone all the way up. They were asking whether someone should take the under in this game. I was like, well, wait. And even since I said that, it's gone up. Now there's a 236.5 at Heritage. Houston, Rockets, Clippers. You have any leans in this spot?
Nothing strong, Jimmy. I really don't. My gut reaction, at the very first line, all right, let's look at the Clips. And then you start reading the quotes out of Houston and the way that they rallied from behind last time against San Antonio, the marquee matchup nature of the game. And I all of a sudden, I'm not that interested in laying points. Houston's coming to play tonight, and whether that's enough or not, I don't know. I'm a much bigger believer in the Clippers than I am with the Rockets in terms of which team is going to go somewhere in May and June this year. And when it comes to getting stops and when it comes to bench depth, the Clips have edges in all those places. But, is tonight a night you want to be laying points in these games? I'm not excited to lay points in either one. And I do think that that Houston brings it, and if they fall behind, I think they're still very live. I mean, Rockets in game tonight might be much better for in game in both of these marquee matchups, because if somebody makes a run, and the original OG low baggers like the Lakers are going to get whomped tonight. If they are, I might get whomped live betting, because if the Lakers go down by margin, I'm likely to get involved with a play on LA. And it's a similar story in the Clips-Rockets game. Anyone that falls behind by margin might be worth a look in game. I would expect it to be competitive throughout.
Makes sense. Drew Daddy saying no good look, live wager. Let's transition into a new sport by Bo J saying, can you ask Teddy, question from a newbie, what percentage of the bag should I bet per game? Let's say the bag is getting low. Should I treat it like poker and go all in?
The bag, meaning his bankroll?
Yeah.
I'm assuming? Yeah. I went all in once in Las Vegas. I could tell you the game was Falcons-Steelers on a Monday Night Football game, and if I would have lost, y'all never would have heard me. I'd have been gone. That was the end. I went all in once. I don't recommend going all in. It's a little stressful. That game was really stressful. It was as stressful as any betting experience I've ever had in my life. I think it was 2001. Maybe 2000 even. It was a long time ago. But that when you're building a bankroll, that may happen. That you're in a situation where you're struggling. You don't necessarily have alternative funds sitting right there that you can pump in. But recognize if you make the decision, hey, this is the game I want to step up on. This is my all-in moment. Recognize if you lose that game, you're done. I'm not a fan of the all-ins in sports betting. Slow and steady wins this race. It's not about getting rich quick. It really isn't.
No, it's well put. Paul Costa says you should bet 1 to 3% of your bankroll per game, depending on how much you like to play. I also went all in one time, and I wouldn't be sitting here had Kunitz not scored the overtime winner in the Eastern Conference Finals, Penguins, Senators, and it was awful.
Yeah,
it was
exactly
awful. I couldn't eat all day. I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't eat. I was like, I was going into a different bar every 10 minutes to watch the game. Like I wasn't comfortable anywhere, and it was just horrible. Like it was horrible. I don't look back with joy. I also went all in once and lost, and my life was in shambles. If all in means it's just the last little bit of your bag or your bankroll, if it's like, my bankroll's down to $300 or $500 or $1,000, something like that. But if you're going all in with, it's just awful. Like I'm getting nightmares thinking about it. It was awful.
I want to talk about that 1 to 3%. Okay, if you have a bankroll that is worth preserving. All right, if you built a bankroll, there's no game that you're betting more than at a max 5% of that bankroll. And 3% is a pretty good limit for any normal game in that regard. However, when we're talking about lesser, we're talking about you got a bankroll of $300 or $500 or $1,000 or $50, whatever it is, you're not betting 1% of that. You're not betting 2% of that. I understand that with smaller bankrolls, your unit sizes need to be a little bit bigger and should be a little bit bigger to keep the interest and to keep the ability to maybe turn that smaller bankroll into something bigger. So with a big bankroll, small bets. With a smaller bankroll, you can step up a little bit more. You can bet even 10% of your bankroll on a single game if you don't have that much to protect.
Yeah, well put. A very interesting topic that we could talk a long time about it, but I'm even getting like antsy and uncomfortable just going back to that.
Bad memories.
Oh, horrible. The last one was the win. The loss was what put my life in complete shambles. Dan Kelly, interesting stat here for that Lakers game. 7 times in the past 4+ seasons, a team has played the 5th and last game of a road trip in Milwaukee. The road team is 7-0 against the spread first half. 7-0 against the spread first half. And Dan Kelly says 5-2 against the spread and straight up full game. Very, very interesting stat. All right, let's move on to college basketball. We've got our looks in from Matt Randall. We've got our looks in from Bobano. What are you doing on this NCAA basketball card?
So I made 2 moves, and I feel like I might make another one. But the UTEP money, I got down at 12.5 on UTEP at Houston. That was, at 12, I'm like, well, let's just wait. I thought 12.5 was too much. I understand that UTEP played twice earlier this week at home in their own tournament. Now they got to go to Houston. I understand that Houston's coming off a loss. I understand that both teams have look-aheads in terms of Christmas tournaments. UTEP's 8-1 against the number, okay? All they've done is overachieve and been undervalued. The money's pouring in against them here. And, of course, spot-wise, it's supposed to pour in against them. I understand that. I like Houston's doing it. Houston's burning their backers' money repeatedly. And, what are they've covered twice this season? Or twice in the last month. They did cover once real early. But I'm a Miners fan. I'm betting UTEP, and it's a team I'm riding, and I had them again today. So plus 12.5 with UTEP against Houston. And I've been betting against Auburn. And I think Auburn is in, and we've seen Auburn fail to cover numbers. And, Auburn's all about the pressure. They can force turnovers in bunches. They're going to kill teams. I don't think they do that against NC State. NC State didn't turn the ball over. They've shown they can win on the road. I put an 8 in my pocket. The market's down to 7.5 right now. I wouldn't talk you out of the Wolfpack Plus. They're alive to win that game. And you talk about the teams that are still undefeated. Auburn's not one of the better ones. I'll leave it at that. In my opinion, I do think that we'll see the Tigers down a notch. But, and then the markets haven't gotten there, and the team has still won every game. They're down a good notch or two from where they were last year, and at some point it's going to show. I hope it shows tonight. So I took NC State and UTEP officially, and I was tempted by William and Mary. I didn't pull it. They're only laying 1. They're not any good either, but St. Joe's a bet against team. They haven't played since that annihilation by Temple. And that was, more than a week ago now. And the spot is concerning me, but it doesn't matter how much of a spot you have. If you have no talent, you have no talent. St. Joe's is, they're not just down, they're way down. So I lean to the Tribe. I haven't pulled the trigger on that one yet, but I might before tip-off.
And what was the number that you got on NC State?
NC State, I got, I believe it was 8.5.
Plus 8.5. UTEP plus 12
now. That's down to 8, 7.5 now, but it's, it couldn't, I think they're live.
No, I like it. Okay, we have questions coming in on NCAA basketball. We do want to touch on NCAA football as well, so we're going to move fast here. Rod Zawacki dropping his NCAA hoops plays. Thank you for doing that, Rod. Rod's on Seton Hall plus 6.5, Hofstra money line, William and Mary -1, and NC State plus 8. And Prince of the City says, I told you, Temple, against my college roommate. He just loves fading Philly. Okay, we're going to move on to a couple questions, Teddy, and I've copied. Oh, yes?
Yeah, real quick. Sure. The Seton Hall, just so he knows that Miles Powell has been downgraded to doubtful for tonight. That's why all the money's coming on the other side. And I don't want Seton Hall without Miles Powell. But it doesn't look like he's going to play. I had them on my short list and ruled after I found out that Powell was unlikely to play. I didn't play it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In NCAA basketball, it's sometimes tricky. It's easier to get, the big players' information, but tougher sometimes with the smaller schools. Let's move on to Rob Stevenson's question. Wanting to know your thoughts on this Wofford-Duke spot. Duke opening at -19 at home. It's down to 17.5 at some books. People thinking that Wofford can stay in this game. Total opened up at 145, now at 142. You have a feel on this Wofford-Duke spot?
So let me start with this. Duke is one of these teams that you go back and I literally, my betting percentage on Duke long-term is about 20%. Okay. It really is. I have not done well in Duke games for a long time. I don't play many of them as a result. I really don't. And I tend to look to bet against Duke. And I would be surprised if Wofford hangs, Wofford's pretty good. Duke has been underachieving ATS. I could only lean in their direction, but I don't. Again, my track record of betting on or against Duke is poor, and it's poor long term. And a lot of times when I have the Duke opinions, they'll stay in the opinion category like this one did. lean Wofford. Didn't pull the trigger. But the sharp money is coming on the dog for this one, for whatever it's worth.
Speaking about that William and Mary, the tribe spot, Robert Santos Suso says, William and Mary, much better record. St. Joe's the most historic program at home also. A lot of people would say this is a setup line because of the differential and records. That's from Robert Santo Suso, a new capper in our chat. Okay, Gregorio Ruiz and Gerald Martinez wanting to know what you think about the Maryland Seton Hall spot now with the information on the injury. And Sharper Focus making Maryland a max bet. Moses Saucedo says Maryland starts slow. Rod Zawacki says, I know I took Seton Hall before I found that out. I'm sure I can find live bet in that game to bet out if those things happen. So with the information on the injury information with Seton Hall, do you agree, and would you make a move on Maryland at 6.5, or is this too many now?
So let me talk about the concept of a trap line in college hoops, because that really stood out to me. We were talking about the William and Mary and St. Joe's, and college hoops, they're making so many numbers every day. Okay, they're making point spreads and totals for every game every day. It's a ton of work. Occasionally, with a marquee matchup, you might see some shading. But pretty much in college hoops, what the point spread is teams A power rating, teams B power rating, and the home field or the home court. And that's it. There's no subtlety. There's no adjustment. There's no nuance. There's no shading. They don't do that. The markets shade off the openers, but the openers themselves, there's no shading in those. They have to put out too many numbers to do it. And it's, when you're shady, you really need the nuance. I don't see that sense. When it comes to, you're asking me about Maryland Seton Hall, what do I do now? What I do now with the game is nothing, because I lean towards the dog, and the dog's best player doesn't look like he's going to play. So I'm not about to lay a worse price with the team that I wasn't looking to support in Maryland, and maybe they do kill him. But if you didn't bet Maryland at 3, now you're like, all right, well, let's lay 7 with them. That's not the way to win beating college basketball. If you're getting the info and getting the bets down before the injury stuff comes out and before the markets move, great. But if you're like, now let's get on Maryland after the line went from 3 to 6.5, 7, no, pass for me.
Makes sense. Sharper Focus says, Teddy, love your insight. We got Kid Valentino rolling with us. The strike on our YouTube account's over. That's why we're back in action. Sportsman of the Year, a.k.a. Lucky Lefty, says, missed the hell out of you guys. And Robert Santos Suso says, dude got my last name perfect. That's important to me, because I'm going to be talking to you guys nonstop, hopefully every day. And if I'm saying your name wrong, I don't want to annoy you. So please let me know if I'm doing that. All right, let's get back into college football action. Let's review Teddy's plays right now. So he gave us Buffalo minus 4.5 weeks ago. He smashed that line move. He gave us Spartans minus 3, Temple plus 5.5, App State minus 16.5. The add-ons that have come in the last 48 hours, Central Michigan plus 3.5, the Liberty Georgia Southern over 57.5, and Marshall plus 17.5 with a little bit on the money line. The first question I have to ask you, everybody's on Marshall, and how are you historically when you have a bet and you see all of the colleagues and all these guys that you respect on the exact same, and you don't see or hear anybody on the other side?
You don't love that scenario. At the same time, in bowl season, that happens a lot. Okay. It really does, where, there's a lot of the guys are on one side, and if you're having one of the bowl seasons where the sides that make sense are cashing, you end up having a really good bowl season with a bunch of your buddies. And when you're having one of those bowl seasons where, there's the 98-yard fumble return touchdowns and all that kind of stuff, then you end up don't have as good a bowl season with your buddies. But I'm not going to let other people's opinion get me on or off a game where I've got an opinion on. I just don't, and that's an advantage of having done this for 20 years, is I can tune somebody out and tune somebody in, and I'm going to listen. But I will look at some of the consensus numbers. And when you say everybody's not on Marshall. There's plenty of UCF support in this game. This isn't one of those games where the consensus is everybody likes the dog. They do in this chat. but this isn't a broad enough consensus amongst the betting world to tell me that everybody likes Marshall. I think Marshall's the right side. And if they're the wrong side, then they'll be the wrong side. But I'm not going to get off the game because other people like it.
Absolutely. I get that. I completely get that. So we've spoken about the looks that you're on a lot, and we don't have much more time right now. So we do have Teddy tomorrow morning as well. And we need to really focus on these bowl games, especially Saturday's bowl games. We've heard a lot of people liking Kent State. We've seen that opening line go from +8 to +6.5. We haven't had a lot of talk on Washington, Boise State. Haven't had a lot of talk on that bowl, and want to hear your thoughts on it because there hasn't been a lot of market movement. There are 3.5s on the board coming out for Washington. We know how big a deal the 3 to 3.5 is. You can still get them at 3. This total opened at 49.5 and has creeped up to 50. This is the one game we haven't spoken enough about. Are you close to making any kind of move in Washington, Boise State?
Just so it's clear though, with the Kent State game against Utah State, Utah State's quarterback, they got busted in the dorms. Did you hear that story, by the way, about how they got busted?
No.
So somebody's in the dorm. They're in I don't know if it's a dorms or some kind of campus-owned housing, and there's a handful of people in a room on a Saturday night, as will happen in any college campus. And there's a joint being smoked in the room, and someone in the dorm calls the campus police and complain about the smell of smoke in the dorm room, and they come in and they don't find anything. There's no weed. There's no joint. They piss test everybody. I'm glad I didn't go to Utah State. I'll tell you that much. So anyhow, they piss tested everybody, and anyone that tested positive, all right, you're in trouble, including the quarterback. But what came out this morning is that the quarterback, the running back, none of them are getting suspended. They're all going to play in the bowl. So that's definitely worth noting for that. All the money poured in on Kent State because everyone thought they were going to get suspended, and it hasn't happened. And of course, Love has something to prove here big time. He's going to the NFL next year. So I'd be a little bit concerned about Kent for this one. Boise, Washington, is that the game where I'm sorry I got distracted there, and I know we're short on time. Boise, Washington is maybe the most impossible game of bowl season. Boise wanted to play in the group of 5, and they thought they were going to get it, and they didn't. Last thing they want to do is come to Vegas. They come to Vegas every year. It's not their bowl of choice. I'll leave it at that. Everyone's talking about Washington. Oh, Peterson. Oh, they're going to go out for Peterson. There was a disconnect between Peterson and his team this year. That's why he's quitting. Okay? I'm not convinced Washington. And they underachieved in every possible way. The defense, I guess, was better than expected, or lived up to some expectations. But, offensively, that team underachieved in every way they could underachieve. And now I want to lay 3.5 for them because of a perceived, we want to win one for the coach? No way. Lean under. I doubt about anything in that one.
And we will break down more of these games on tomorrow morning's show. But just to review, NCAA football action from Teddy covers Buffalo -4.5, Spartans -3, Temple +5.5, App State -16.5, Central Michigan +3.5, Liberty, Georgia Southern over 57.5, Marshall +17.5, and the money line. Just to put a bow on this show, Teddy, of those plays, is there one play that you're feeling even more bullish on? And is there one play that you're like, maybe I should buy out of this?
I like Marshall. And I'm not inclined to buy of anything right now. I may, not yet. But Marshall certainly stands out. That Liberty over stands out to me as well. They're both, I think, I would say stronger than average plays.
And the Liberty Georgia Southern over, if you shop around, you can still get a nice number. Bookmakers still hanging at 57.5. Pinnacle leading the charge to the over. If you were just advantage betting, you would pick Bookmaker and bet this, blindly, basically. I love it, Teddy. Absolutely great stuff. Matt Randall's team play is Georgia State. I'll go over everybody's plays of the day shortly. But Teddy Covers, thank you so much for joining us, sharing your hard work and insights with us. Follow this man on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. And don't fret, we have him here tomorrow morning. Get your questions ready because it's our last chance to have him before these bowl games on Friday night and Saturday. Much love to you, Teddy, my friend. And we will talk NFL too tomorrow as well. So we'll make some time for NFL to hear Teddy's looks on the NFL card. Teddy, let's have a profitable night. Let's get that cash. And thank you for joining us, my friend.
The pleasure's all mine, Jimmy. And in terms of next week, I don't know what the schedule's like for next week, but I'm available any day that you need me. So just let me know.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I will send that out to you. There he is. Teddy Covers. Man, you hear that? Holiday season, he's available every single day. That's our guy, Teddy Covers. And we will give him days off, though. Don't worry.
Thanksgiving, dude. Thanksgiving in July. That's all I am. You're not going to find me much in July, and Thanksgiving weekend I take off. Anything else, I'm happy to work, dude.
No, I love it. And trust me, I'm taking notes. July and Thanksgiving is a smart way of handling things. Very smart way of handling things. Gerald Jones says, learn something from Teddy every day. Kanaskat says, thanks, Teddy. Great job. Chad F says, peace, Teddy. Rod Z says, cheers, Teddy. I absolutely love it. Okay, there he is.
Teddy
Awesome.
Covers. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
There he is, Teddy Covers. All right, so let's go back over his NCAA basketball as well. Let me pull that sheet up. Okay, so let's just go over the looks on everybody's card here. Polo this, Polo that, backing Southern Utah -1.5. Sharper Focus doing a Maryland max bet. Maryland max bet is Sharper Focus. Teddy in NCAA's on UTEP +12.5 and NC State +8.5. +8.5. Our very own Bobano's on William Mary over 152.5 and Marshall over 159. Alex Ramirez, Spidey play of the day is Jets puck line. Jets puck line. Rod Zawacki is looking to possibly buy out of his Seton Hall spot. He's going to make a decision as it goes, but he's on Hofstra money line. William and Mary -1, NC State +8. From our Matt Randall, to sit on my face, taint play of the day, Georgia State -3. He's also on Portland -6.5, Coastal Carolina -3, William Mary -1, Marshall -11, Texas State +2, and UTEP +12. Moses Saucedo coming in saying, love Maryland. Ill Wise is on the Minnesota Wild solo under 2.5 as his play of the day. Canadian Capper, 72, Big Beaver play of the day. Winnipeg Jets -1.5. That's the Canadian Capper 72. That's the Big Beaver play of the day. Gate Pass Keys on Jets puck line, Flyers money line, Islanders Boston under, Nashville puck line, and Minnesota Arizona under. Oh, interesting. Gate Pass Keys on the under on Teddy's over. Rod Zawacki's 10-unit play, thank you. I thought I had that copied and pasted, is the Blackhawks. It's going against a lot of you guys. Lamont Williams, max bet, Maryland solo team total over. Noli knows is Jimmy exclusive. Is Florida A&M Washington State under 133. I'm going to take a good look at that. In NBA, I'm on the Spurs. I got a -2.5, -114 at BetOnline. And I'm very interested in what Dan Kelly said about the 4+ years teams on the 5th game of a road trip ending in Milwaukee have covered the first half 7 times. They're 7-0. 7-0. So that's my look in NBA. In NHL, Bobano has a lot of big plus lines. Oh, and Nilo is on Porto -2. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste that right now. Reese is on Bucks -2. And, all right, let me copy that. Okay, sorry, copy and pasting that. Bobano's on the Islanders, road dog. He's also on the Stars, road dog. He's also on the Sabres, road dog. A lot of plus lines. He's also on Jack Eichel to score a goal at about +140. At least that's where it's been. I'm on the Kings +130. The Predators -1. Bobano's favorite look is the over 6 in Predators Ottawa. The over 6 in Predators Ottawa. I'm off of Blackhawks Jets. I feel uncomfortable with that spot. I'm off of Hurricanes Avalanche. I'm off of Canadiens Flames. I'm on the Coyotes -1. Bobano is not only on the Coyotes with the -1 line, he's also on the over 5.5 Wild Coyotes, but we just heard from Gate Pass Key that he's on the under. Lance LaRose, okay, I'm going to copy and paste a couple more looks here. But that is our action, and I will be perusing it in the morning to see who deserves the Vegas Gun Award for capping excellence. So I'm going to look at everybody's action and make moves. Lance LaRose, Steve Overlay. Okay, beautiful. You guys, man, it's nice to be back. on YouTube. The team is back together. As a team, we defeat the juice. God, it feels good. Thank you to our guests. Big thank you to Bobano and Teddy Covers. Thank you to all these great cappers in the chat. I missed you guys dearly. Join us very soon in 21 minutes for Jammin' with J Money. And then we have a 5:30 p.m. late show. And then tonight, we're back. Live line, back live. Mook LaFleur, Alex Ramirez, Lance LaRose. We have Robert Santos Suso joining us, a new capper. Welcome to the Low Bag fam. Nilo, SM, Rod Zawacki, Russ B, Bookie Lover, QQ, Steve Overlay, Lance LaRose, Luis Fernando Esquinza, Eric Rosas, Jim Rome's a douche. What a great group. Moses Saucedo, Zombie Pie, Prince of the City. I missed you guys very, very much. Nice to have everybody back together. Big late show with Maxwell Smart, but most importantly, leche, hey, los bookmakers. Get that shit. Take it.